Good morning, friends. I am Dr. Nikunj Patel, Assistant Professor in Government Medical College, Surat. Today's topic of discussion is carbohydrate metabolism, regulation of the blood glucose level, and diabetes mellitus. Regulation of the blood glucose level. It is necessary to regulate the blood glucose level in the very narrow range because various tissue like brain, RBC and renal medulla are predominantly depend on blood glucose level for its fuel. Among them RBC it is solely depend on blood glucose level for its metabolism. Normal range of the blood glucose level in fasting condition is 70 to 110 milligram per deciliter and for the PP2BS it is less than 140 milligram per deciliter. The hormone that regulate the blood glucose level. Mainly two types of the hormone are categorized. One that decrease the blood glucose level, one hormone or one category that increase the blood glucose level. Hormone that decrease the blood glucose level include only one hormone that is known as insulin. Insulin that decrease the blood glucose level. Hormone that increase the blood glucose level are also known as anti-insulin hormone that include glucagon, epinephrine, norepinephrine, steroid, growth hormone and thyroxine. They are all the hormone that increase the blood glucose level by various mechanisms. Only hormone that decrease the blood glucose level in our body, it is a insulin. So one side it is a insulin and other side it is a glucagon, epinephrine, norepinephrine, steroid, growth hormone and thyroxine hormone that increase the blood glucose level. So overall balance between these two category of the hormone that regulate the blood glucose level in very narrow range, that is helpful for the various tissue. So first of all we discuss about the insulin. What is the insulin? Insulin, it is a hormone derived from the beta cell from the island of Langerhans of pancreas. Means it is secreted by beta cell of pancreas. Active form of the insulin have a two polypeptide chain. One it is alpha and second it is a beta. Alpha chain contain the 21 amino acid, beta chain contain the 30 amino acid. Both the chain are connected to each other by disulfide bond. Normal level of the insulin it is 5 to 15 micro unit per ml. That is the structure of the active form of the insulin. Alpha chain, beta chain, both the chain are connected by the disulfide bond. Two interchain disulfide bond along with the one intrachain disulfide bond are present in the alpha chain. So total 3 disulfide bond are present in the active form of the insulin. That is described by the Sanger in 1955 and for it is Nobel Prize in 1958. That is the active form of the insulin. Actually insulin it is secreted or formed from mRNA as a precursor form, that is known as a pre-proinsulin. From that it is converted into the proinsulin, that is again inactive form, and from proinsulin it is a form in the active form, that is insulin with removal of the C peptide. In the inactive form, first form, that is translated from the mRNA, it is pre-proinsulin. So gene for the insulin it is a transcript to the mRNA. mRNA had come outside the nucleus in the cytoplasm for the translation. On the translatory machinery ribosome, it is translated and produce the polypeptide chain. The native polypeptide chain synthesized from the mRNA that contain the N-terminal amino acid sequence along with the polypeptide chain, that is N-terminal amino sequence or signal sequence, that is present in the pre-proinsulin. When that is cleaved in endoplasmic reticulum, it is converted into the proinsulin. That is the endoplasmic reticulum. When form polypeptide chain, it is formed from the mRNA, it is entered into the endoplasmic reticulum. In the endoplasmic reticulum, that signal peptide it is removed by this peptidase and produce the proinsulin. That proinsulin, it is packed in the vesicle and transported to the Golgi apparatus for further processing. In the Golgi apparatus, that proinsulin, it is a further cleave and removal of the that C peptide. It is known as a connecting peptide between the two chain, alpha chain and beta chain, and produce the active form of the insulin. That C peptide, connecting peptide and active form are the packed in the vesicle, and it is a now secreted outside the cell for in the blood for the further action. So remember, in the blood that contain the connecting peptide as well as active form of the insulin, that is the indicator of insulin synthesis by our body, not the synthetic form, because synthetic form of the insulin only contain the active form, not the C peptide. So if blood contain the both C peptide and active form of the insulin, that is suggestive of the insulin are produced endogenously. If insulin are given exogenously in the form of synthetic insulin as a drug, that only contain the active particle, not the C peptide. So remember, that is a processing or the insulin. It is a secreted or formed as a inactive form in pre-proinsulin that contain the amino signal peptide along with this two chain alpha and beta with C peptide, connecting peptide. When amino terminal it is removed, it is converted into the proinsulin. Proinsulin is further processed in the Golgi apparatus by removing the C peptide or connecting peptide and produce the active form of the insulin. That is packed in the vesicle and excreted outside the cell in the blood for the further action. Factors that regulate the insulin secretion: increase the secretion of the insulin by increase the blood glucose level, increase the amino acid level in the blood, specifically leucine and arginine, increase the GI hormone secretion like secretin and gastrin, various other hormone, glucagon and growth hormone that increase the blood glucose level and indirectly increase the insulin secretion. Along with that, parasympathetic stimulation and specifically beta adrenergic stimulation that also leads to the increase the insulin secretion. So remember, all that factor that leads to the increase the glucose level. Increase the glucose level in the feeding state, that leads to the increase the insulin secretion. Decrease the secretion of the insulin by epinephrine and alpha adrenergic stimulation. What is the mechanism of the insulin action? Once it is secreted in the blood, it is act on the peripheral tissue by binding to the cell surface receptor, that is known as the insulin receptor. That is the structure of the insulin receptor, that is the cell surface receptor. It have a mainly two domains, extracellular and transmembrane domain. Extracellular domain are mainly formed by the 2-alpha unit and transmembrane and intracellular domain by the beta chain. So total 4 polypeptide chain are the present in the insulin receptor. 2-alpha and 2-beta, they are connected by the disulfide bond. Alpha subunit from the extracellular domain and beta subunit mainly from the transmembrane and intracellular subdomain. When insulin bind with the extracellular, with the alpha subunit domain or extracellular domain, it leads to the activation of the beta subunit, that is mainly catalytic subunit. Beta subunit have a tyrosine kinase activity, means the kinase enzyme are ultimately leads to the phosphorylation of the tyrosine residue or amino acid present in the beta subunit intracellular, that leads to the phosphorylation of the tyrosine residue. Along with that, that is known as autophosphorylation by insulin. After that, tyrosine kinase also phosphorylate the insulin receptor substance. Phosphorylation of that IRS that leads to the activation of the various protein kinase and phosphatase that leads to the various signaling pathway in the intracellularly, and that leads to the various metabolic effect by the insulin. The various metabolic effect by insulin that include increase the glycolysis, increase the glycogen synthesis, increase the protein synthesis, and increase the fat synthesis, means lipogenesis. Along with that, decrease the gluconeogenesis, decrease glycogenolysis, decrease the lipolysis. Means insulin that leads to the increase the glucose utilization, along with that decrease lipid and protein utilization. That is a basic effect of the insulin. Increase glucose utilization with decreased fat and protein utilization. That leads to the decrease the blood glucose level, decrease the free fatty acid in the blood, and decrease the ketone body in the blood. That's why when insulin does not act properly or decrease the level of the insulin, that leads to the increase the free fatty acid and increase the ketone body with increase the blood. Right. So that is a metabolic effect of the insulin. Second hormone that regulates the blood glucose level, it is glucagon, that increase the blood glucose level. It is known as the anti-insulin hormone, that is secreted by alpha cell of the pancreas. Insulin by the beta cell, glucagon by the alpha cell of the pancreas. Secretion, it is stimulated by the low blood glucose level. When decrease the blood glucose level, it stimulates the glucagon secreted by alpha cell, that leads to the increase the blood glucose level. So that maintain the blood glucose level in the narrow range. Amino acid also stimulate the glucagon secretion. Along with that, epinephrine and sympathetic stimulation also secrete the glucagon from pancreas. Secretion is inhibited by hyperglycemic condition. Insulin, high carbohydrate diet, and hyperglycemia, all that leads to the inhibition of the glucagon secretion. Mechanism of the action of the glucagon. Once glucagon it is secreted, it is act on peripheral cell or tissue to increase the blood glucose level by various metabolic pathways. But how it is act? It is act on the cell membrane receptor. Once it bind with the cell membrane receptor, glucagon receptor, it leads to the activation of the adenyl cyclase enzyme that is present in the cell membrane. Adenyl cyclase that catalyze the increase the production of the cyclic AMP from the ATP, means that leads to the increase the cyclic AMP level in the cell. Glucagon bind with the receptor, that leads to the increase the adenyl cyclase activity, that leads to the increase the cyclic AMP production. Now what happened? Now cyclic AMP it bind with the various cyclic AMP dependent protein kinase. They are present in the cell in an inactive form. It is a tetramer, 2 regulatory unit and 2 catalytic unit. When it is present in the tetramer form, it is an inactive form. But when intracellular cyclic AMP level are the increase, that bind with the regulatory unit, that leads to the conformational change in the protein kinases, and regulatory unit are the separated from catalytic unit. Now catalytic unit are the converted into the active form that catalyze the phosphorylation of the various protein with the use of the ATP. So cyclic AMP leads to the activation of the cyclic AMP dependent protein kinase, that leads to the phosphorylation of the various protein by ATP, and that phosphorylated protein leads to the various metabolic changes in the cell that finally leads to the increase the blood glucose level. So overall biological effect of glucagon are generally reverse of the insulin. That leads to the increase the blood glucose level by breakdown of the glycogen, so increase the glycogenolysis, new formation of the glucose for non-carbohydrate substance, so that leads to the increase the gluconeogenesis. It also leads to the increase the lipolysis, ketogenesis, along with that decrease the glycogenesis, so decrease the utilization of the glucose. So basic purpose of the glucagon is increase the blood glucose level, so that leads to the increase the blood glucose level, along with that increase the free fatty acid and ketone body. Because lipolysis are the increase, that leads to the free fatty acid increase, that leads to the oxidize and produce the acetyl coenzyme A, that is a substrate for the ketone body. So that leads to the increase the ketone body formation. Other anti-insulin hormone include the steroid. They are the mainly stimulate the gluconeogenesis and leads to the increase the blood glucose level. Along with that, also stimulate the lipolysis and protein breakdown. Remember, steroid leads to the protein breakdown. Second hormone, it is a growth hormone that also increase the blood glucose level by stimulating the gluconeogenesis, lipolysis, and ketogenesis. But it increase the protein synthesis. Remember, it is an anabolic hormone. Growth hormone, it is an anabolic hormone. So it leads to the increase the protein synthesis. So that is all about the hormone that regulate the blood glucose level. Insulin, it is a main hormone that decrease the blood glucose level, and all other are known as anti-insulin hormone that include the glucagon, steroid, growth hormone, thyroxine that leads to the increase the blood glucose level. So that maintain the blood glucose level in the narrow range. Diabetes. Diabetes, it is a disorder caused by the multifactorial polygenic syndrome characterized by the increased blood glucose level. It may be due to the relative or absolute deficiency of the insulin. That mainly classify as a two type 1 and type 2. Type 1, it is formally known as insulin dependent diabetes mellitus IDDM, and type 2 formally known as a non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus NIDDM. Type 1, it is mainly insulin dependent. Type 2, it is a non-insulin dependent, means it is due to the insulin resistance. Basic difference between the type 1 and type 2 are discussed here. Some point they are the differ in the type 1 and type 2 are age of the onset. Type 1 diabetes mellitus are mainly seen in the childhood and puberty. Type 2 are the mainly seen in after the 35. Symptoms are the develop rapidly, symptoms are the develop gradually. Prevalence rate, among the diabetes, only 10% of the population are the type 1 diabetes. Among the diabetic population, 90% of the people have a type 2 diabetes. So it have a more prevalence among the diabetic population. Genetic predisposition, it is moderate. It is very strong in the type 2 diabetes mellitus. So it is mainly inherited. Defect or deficiency in the type 1 diabetes mellitus are the decrease the production of the insulin from the beta cell. It may be due to the destruction of the beta cell by mechanical or inflammatory or any other cause that leads to the destruction of the beta cell and leads to the decrease the production of the insulin. In the case of the type 2 diabetes mellitus, insulin are secreted normally but does not lead to the effect. That is known as insulin resistance. So it does not bind with the receptor and that leads to the relative insulin deficiency. Plasma insulin level, it is a low or mainly absent. In case of the type 2, there is a normal high in early phase. In the late phase of the disease, it may be low due to permanent damage to the gland. Acute complication, it is a ketoacidosis, diabetic ketoacidosis, and type 2, it is a hyperosmolar coma. Respond to the oral hypoglycemic drug are mainly unresponsive because there is no chance to the insulin secretion from the beta cell. In the type 2 diabetes mellitus, insulin are secreted normally, so it is responsive to the oral hypoglycemic drug. And mainly treatment in the type 1 diabetes, it is a insulin given from outside. In the type 2 diabetes mellitus, diet, exercise and oral hypoglycemic drug are the main modality of the treatment. So that is a certain basic difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes mellitus. Remember the age of the onset at the puberty and childhood for the type 1, and mainly after the age of the 35 it is a type 2. Prevalence in type 1 it is very low, type 2 it is a mainly diabetes mellitus in a diabetic population. And cause of the diabetes, type 1 that is destruction of the beta cell, type 2 it is insulin resistance. Metabolic change in the diabetes mellitus. This mainly three metabolic changes. It is increase the blood glucose level, hyperglycemia, ketoacidosis, and increase the triglyceride. Decrease the insulin level, so that leads to the decrease the insulin effect like glycolysis, increase the glucose uptake, glycogen synthesis, protein synthesis, and fat synthesis. Mainly two, decrease the glycolysis and glycogen synthesis, so does not utilize the glucose, so blood have a more glucose, that leads to the hyperglycemia. Ketoacidosis, decrease the insulin effect like lipolysis, decrease the so decrease the insulin, that leads to the increase the lipolysis, lead to the increase the fatty acid oxidation and increase the production of the acetyl coenzyme A, that is a substrate for the ketone body, and leads to the ketoacidosis, and increase the tricyclicerol, because increase the fatty acid synthesis, that is again packed in the VLDL and secreted by the liver in the circulation, so increase the level of the VLDL and tricyclicerol. Complication in the diabetic mellitus are mainly classified in the two groups, acute and chronic complication. Acute complication include the diabetic ketoacidosis, mainly in type 1 diabetes mellitus or insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, due to the increased ketone body synthesis by increase the lipolysis. And in case of the type 2 non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, it is a hyperosmolar non-ketotic coma, in which coma is not due to the ketoacidosis. Remember, non-ketotic coma. So in that case, what happen? Increase the blood glucose level, that leads to the increase the osmolarity of the blood, that leads to the increase the osmotic diuresis. So increase the diuresis, that leads to the dehydration and electrolyte imbalance, and finally leads to the coma due to the cerebral cell dehydration, that leads to the comatic condition. So that is known as a hyperosmolar non-ketotic coma, when blood glucose level are the increase more and remain more for the longer period, that leads to the hyperosmolar non-ketotic coma. It is acute condition. Chronic complication, when the blood glucose level, uncontrolled blood glucose level, high uncontrolled blood glucose level, that leads to the chronic complication. That is mainly due to the glycation of the various protein. They are mainly classified as a macrovascular and microvascular complication. Macrovascular complication include atherosclerosis, narrowing of the major blood vessel, and microvascular complication, that leads to the small capillary are the obstructed, that leads to the destruction of the various cell and tissue, that leads to the neuropathy, retinopathy, and nephropathy. So they are the long-term complication of the diabetes mellitus: atherosclerosis, neuropathy, retinopathy, and nephropathy. Diagnosis, it is based on the symptoms, cardinal symptoms of the diabetes mellitus. It is polyuria, polydipsia, and polyphagia. Increase the blood glucose level, it is osmotically active particle, so that leads to the increase the osmotic diuresis, leads to the polyuria. Increase the loss of the water, that leads to the dehydration, and that reflexly stimulate the thirst center, leads to the polydipsia. Decrease the utilization of the glucose and increase utilization of the fat and protein, that leads to the polyphagia. And increase the utilization of the fats and protein by the cell in the absence of the insulin that leads to the weight loss. So that is a basic symptoms are the seen in diabetes patient. Polyuria, polyphasia, polydipsia along with that weight loss. Weight loss it not be seen at the time of the diagnosis of diabetes mellitus, but cardinal symptoms are the mainly polyuria, polydipsia and polyphasia. Blood glucose estimation, it is also one of the main tests for the diagnosis of the diabetes mellitus. Then OGTT, oral glucose tolerance test, and other tests that is a supportive for the diagnosis of the diabetes mellitus include glycated hemoglobin, HbA1c, and fructosamine. Criteria for the diagnosis of the diabetes mellitus by OGTT include normal range of the blood glucose level in fasting condition. It is less than 110 milligram per deciliter. For the PP2BS, it is less than 140 milligram per deciliter. If it is more than 126 milligram per deciliter in fasting condition or more than 200 milligram per deciliter in PP2BS condition, it is known as a diabetes mellitus. If person have a blood glucose level more than 110 milligram per deciliter but less than 126 milligram per deciliter, means it is known as the impaired glucose tolerance. It is in between the normal and diabetes mellitus range, that is known as the impaired glucose tolerance. And if person have only impaired glucose tolerance for the fasting condition, that is known as the impaired fasting glycemia, in which glucose level, fasting glucose level, it is more than 110 and less than 126, but for the PP2BS it is less than 140. So it is only impaired for the fasting condition, that is known as the impaired fasting glycemia. So mainly there is three conditions: diabetes mellitus, impaired tolerance for the glucose, and impaired fasting glycemia. Glycated hemoglobin, HbA1c, it is non-enzymatic glycation of the hemoglobin when blood glucose level it is high for the long period. Lifespan of the RBC, it is around 120 days, means once it is a glycated, it is remain glycated for its remaining lifespan. So it gives the rough idea over the long period. So it is helpful to detect the glucose level control by diabetes patient over the period of the lifespan of the RBC. Normally less than 6% of the total hemoglobin, HbA1c. Goal for the patient of the diabetes mellitus, it is less than 7%, and if it is higher than 7%, it is a over control of the diabetes mellitus. Treatment: type 1 diabetes mellitus, it is insulin therapy. Type 2, lifestyle modification, exercise, oral hypoglycemic drug, and if it does not control in certain stressful condition, insulin may be required. Treatment of the complication, it is required in both the case. Thank you.